Hi, this is George Alger. Welcome to today's segment of Our Ventura TV. Today we're going to be speaking about art therapy for people affected by dementia. And joining us is Erica Curcio, who is a licensed mental health counselor and a registered art therapist. Welcome, Erica. And what is art therapy?
Hi, George. Thanks so much for having me. Art therapy is this, it's such a hard question to answer because anyone can do it, as long as you're working with an art therapist. But so art therapy is an additional, it's a modality that allows people, often some people to talk more through their art. So without language, you're using your art to speak about things that are going on internally for you. And how that happens is just it has this ability to just tap into your unconscious, allow you to create art about what's going on without you really thinking about it. And then the art therapist then can have a conversation with you about elements that are happening in your art.
Very cool. Now let's talk about it specifically as it relates to dementia.
Yeah, so when people are living with dementia, they may have a more difficult time following a prompt throughout like a 45, 60-minute session. They might have a difficult time having a conversation about their art as their memory loss gets more significant. So when using art therapy with someone living with dementia, my focus is about bringing joy to their life, and it's about them using the art supplies as a almost like a pseudo control. So the things that they don't have control over anymore, they can do with their pencil or their paintbrush. And it makes them feel like they have, again, this like semblance of control in their life using the art supply.
Very good. Now, is is the session something that is done in conjunction with the creation of the art or after the art is created?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the session itself they're generally around 60 minutes. Some people do 90 minutes, some people do 2 hours. Depends on the art therapist and how long the session is. But generally you're creating art in front of the art therapist. And what's happening is the art therapist is evaluating and assessing how you're using the art supplies, and are you significantly working in an area of the paper or canvas that you're working with? And so they're just watching that experience happen so that when you are finished with the artwork, they can have a conversation with you and say, I noticed that you were working in the right corner. Like, what was going on for you in that moment? So it's someone who doesn't have cognitive losses. They may be able to have a whole conversation about that. For someone who is experiencing the memory loss, they may not be able to have the conversation about what's going on, but as the art therapist, I see it and I know that something's going on there, whether that's the person kind of releasing some energy to that space that maybe they couldn't otherwise with words. Um, it's it's just very, very powerful. And I personally work with people living with dementia, but it can be applied across the board for anyone.
Very good.
And then after you did mention about so the processing. So then you process that after you create the art. Yeah.
Okay. And then when you're starting this at the beginning of a session, or in fact, I guess I should clarify that. Is this typically a one session thing or is it multiple sessions?
For me and how I like to do programming like art therapy sessions, it's a weekly session because the first couple of weeks it's really about building a relationship with someone. And when you're doing that with someone who's experiencing dementia, it may take a longer time to build that relationship so that they feel more comfortable around me as the art therapist. So it's generally weekly, it's an hour, and it's just that foundation of a relationship. And then afterwards, then you feel more comfortable expressing yourself. So that might take longer with someone who's experiencing dementia.
Okay. So now at the beginning of a session or any of the sessions, is the actual theme of the art or the direction of the art something that you're going to establish, or is that established by the artist?
That's a good question. So it depends on the person. The work is so individualized that when I'm working with someone, it could be that they're actually copying another painting or a drawing of some sort. And so for them, they're using the art to enhance the skill that they still have. Because it's all about seeing someone and their capabilities and then giving them something that they can use with their capabilities. For somebody else, it might be just using acrylic paint abstractly on a canvas. And so maybe they can't process that, but they can let it out on the canvas with the paintbrush. For another person, it might be just like drawing circles. Like one person I worked with, it was every single time we went, I went, we took an embroidery hoop and they just drew the circle and then drew in the circle however they wanted. And they would get so excited to see me. They get all their art supplies out. And that person was living with primary progressive aphasia. And so they barely talk. And it was really just about this moment where this person felt in control of something, that embroidery hoop. And they knew the predictability of, okay, I'm going to use these certain pens and I'm going to do it the way that I want to do it. Because outside of this 60-minute experience, everything else was dictated for them for their own safety, of course, but it's just that choice wasn't really integrated into their life.
Yeah. I guess that brings up a point for me, and there must be somewhere along this path of dementia that a person wouldn't be able to respond to this, or maybe that's not true, but could you speak to that?
Yeah, so when you mentioned that, I thought, when I'm ending with a client, like I come into a person's life for a season, and part of that is also leaving. And so having the conversation with the family that my work's no longer effective. It was for a while. A lot of my clients I work a really long time with, like years.
Mm.
And so this really impactful relationship has been built, and it's like, I don't want you to go, but I see that you can't do what you used to do. And so we might try some different art supplies. We may try different like flower arranging. But at the end, it's having that conversation with the family that the work is no longer capable. Like they're no longer capable for what I have to offer. Um, so that's really the hardest part is the goodbye.
Yeah. Erica, we're running short of time, but I'm wondering if you could maybe highlight a sort of a, I don't know, maybe a success story or, something, something positive that resulted for one particular person.
Yeah. So I was working with someone 6 to 8 weeks, and I just couldn't figure out what art supply was working for them. They were having a hard time following my direction one week, and then the next week they could, but they couldn't manipulate the supply. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to try paint. I'm going to give them a paintbrush and I'm just going to try paint. And that moment it opened up doors. And this was a person who was living with aphasia. And so if you don't know what aphasia is, it means that you're basically losing your ability to speak. Your language is deteriorating. And so I gave this person a paintbrush and they just started painting with this brush and smiling and laughing. And they turned to me and they'd say, "What do you think?" And that was the longest sentence I had ever heard them say in the 8 weeks that I was just racking my brain, like, what am I going to do with this person? And I don't know the science behind it, but I think that there's something to it. So I would say that if you are a caregiver and your person is experiencing aphasia, it might be a great opportunity to just set them up with a canvas and some acrylic paint and see what happens. Have no expectations, but see what happens. And that fluidity of the paint and the paintbrush may actually help them, have a sentence or just be able to acknowledge you in a way that they wouldn't otherwise due
Thank
to
you.
the aphasia. Yeah.
Very good. Well, we're out of
Yeah.
time, Erica. I wonder if you could sneak in your website for people who might want to find out more, and if you might have a very brief statement to, provide the viewers.
Yeah. So you can find me at arttherapist@home.com. That's my website. And I think just something to walk away with is there still can be joy on this journey. This journey is challenging, it's hard, but this is also an opportunity to meet your person living with dementia in a new light, in a new relationship. And so there still can be joy on this journey. It's not the end.
Well said. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Erica. This is George Alger signing off for this segment of Our Ventura TV. Until we meet again.